superstar. He is an absolute superstar, Tom Mitchell. Cripps at the back. Cripps is too good. Nil, yes! Oh, how good was that?
We're back here by popular demand. We've had some demand out there in the public sphere who wanted us back. And so we're back.
You know that,
I didn't think we'd be back. I thought it might have been a one-hit wonder, but apparently the people want to hear from you again for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason. You know that reel on Instagram? I think I've sent it to you a few times. I think I shared it as well. It was from that hangover scene where all the lads are in the car.
Yeah, and it's
We're
like
back, baby.
We're back. Yeah, it's
We're
a
back.
little 5-seconder. Yeah,
We're back, baby.
And it's the captions like when you haven't seen the lads in 5 years and you get the band back together.
That could be us. In
I think so. I think
2 months.
That's us right now.
I think the Pies beat.
Wait, can I give you a bit of
Blues
feedback?
and the
You got a quick second for some feedback?
Do you want to take me to feedback corner? Do you?
Well, I'll take you to the corner after. I feel like feedback's so big in the footy space. You know how you grab blokes for a quick chat and the start, stop, keep and all that rubbish.
So much good content.
So much rubbish we should touch on and get to that. I just want to give you a quick bit of feedback while we're here.
Go for it. Yeah.
I'd like you to, when we're exchanging reels on Instagram, I feel like sometimes you're very happy with yours, but I'd like a bit more appreciation for what I bring to the table in terms of my content. I feel like I've found some really good videos of late, and probably need a couple more crying emojis or a few more ha-ha-has. Just, yeah.
Oh, well, what do you... Usually you're just sending DJ sets in the middle of the pyramids or something in Egypt. And
I'm big on that at the moment because end of season's approaching and you're sort of planning where we're probably going to be in America, but it's always quite inspiring to see a little festival in Egypt or South America and be like, maybe we pop up there for a week.
That stuff's blown up, isn't it? That part of the world, like Middle East, Turkey, Lebanon, Mars. We'll go.
I feel like that's uncharted territory for footy trips, end of season.
Yeah, it should be.
We could be the first ones.
Yeah, everyone goes to Mykonos and spends an arm and a leg and all these other places. But
we're also guilty of that.
Yeah. Well, I remember you had some, we were just talking about before, the first night fever.
I got first night fever really bad last year. So the Hawthorn boys, we all went to Greece. We landed in Mykonos at 2 p.m. I reckon,
It was about
roughly.
2 p.m. and then we were like mucking around trying to get. We got cars to the to where we were staying.
Yeah.
And then we're like, righto, everyone, get ready. We were half an hour.
Yeah, we were excited. We were excited. We were so jet lagged, but we went straight to Namos, which arguably one of the best venues in the world. Before that,
a few guys had misplaced their IDs, so they didn't have. You didn't know whether do I use my ID, do I use my passport?
Yeah. So what you did, you took some great initiative on this trip, with Superbad being quite a great movie and pretty big themes throughout the Hawthorn Footy Club, always being quoted in meetings and within the locker room throughout the boys. You took it upon yourself. There's that scene where the McLovin ID, you know, when he's...
It went early. I went early on that. I actually made a few of them 12 months before. I don't know if you know, but I made like 5 of them.
So where'd you actually get them imported from? So you made a McLovin ID for every single player on the trip.
A dozen blokes.
And the rule on the trip was whenever we went to a venue, you weren't allowed to use your actual passport or ID. You had to firstly try the McLovin ID with the Hawaiian thing.
Guess where they came from? Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$80 US
each.
So I spent about $900 on those.
Wait, worth it. Because you get to the line. So we get to Namos, which I think one of the best venues worldwide. It's this big sort of day beach bar club on the beach. All the boys are rolling in first day out together. And we're just getting the weirdest looks because we're all handing out our IDs with our head photoshopped on the McLovin IDs. And they're sort of looking at, you know, they're not really sure what to think, but we're getting through and we're pissing ourselves.
And what was on your one? Because there was some specific information on it.
They all said organ donor. We're all organ donors.
From Hawaii.
And we're all 21.
Yeah. And it was either out of that or Muhammad.
Yeah, correct. Anyway, the fact we got let in is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had our passports as backup, but we didn't need them anywhere because, well, credit to you, I'll give you some feedback on that, some positive reinforcement. That was outstanding.
Yeah, well, there was even a McLovin ID for the piece that we have sort of touched on.
Yeah. The piece has been, I don't know about you, but for all the people that listened to our last podcast, I've had some reviews on how funny they thought that was. You know, the piece, how you can throw the piece on the end of anything. You know, this podcast pieces.
It's still going. I mean, well, yeah, Yeah, it's still going.
Pivotal Conversations. That Pivotal Conversations piece, you know, they've played a role here, bringing their strength in organising this facility for us.
Yeah.
We've got quite a good connection piece here.
There is a good one, and I want to just touch on that lunch at Namos, the first lunch. It was like the 12 disciples. That's what it was like. It was like the last dinner for Jesus.
Dylan Moore and Will Day.
It was amazing.
They took it upon themselves to
order the whole.
They ordered everything.
Shout out to the great Nick Davos as well.
Yeah, Davos.
One of the greats.
Yeah.
One of the absolute.
He was
finest.
Yeah, he was on the phone.
Proudly sponsored
what he was speaking to the waitresses in Greek, telling them what we should order because we couldn't really understand them. But Daisy and Maury organised all the drinks, all the food. No one barely ate the food. We had like this whole remember that size of that fish?
Yeah.
It was like this big.
Yeah, that didn't get eaten.
No one touched it.
No.
It was just, straight into first day festivities. I ended up in bed by 7 p.m, me and Finn McGuinness.
Yeah, remember Max from Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan's dad? When he talks about $26,000 worth of sides.
Yeah, we actually ordered that many sides that day.
There was about $26,000 worth of sides.
It was a juicy bill, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the final total?
I
didn't see it because I was in bed.
At 7.
Yeah,
So
not by choice, but I was getting ready for the remainder of the trip.
Yeah. There was a few operators on that trip actually that were sitting that we actually knew on a few of the other tables as well. The great Tommy Bug, he had the cohort there.
Who else was there?
Everyone was.
James Hashem, he was there. Hashi.
Yeah, there was a few operators.
I feel like you've run into a lot of people on those because everyone sort of goes. Especially football teams, like everyone sort of travels at the same time, so you're a good chance of running into people.
Yeah.
Finn McGuinness, I reckon, he probably polled the 3 votes that day.
Yeah.
Tell you what was great about that trip.
Was he tagging anyone?
He was tagging. He tagged me out of it the first night, so that's why he was in bed with me. He put me to sleep, like he's been putting everyone else to sleep. Yeah. But I liked the reviews the next morning. So we'd get up, be staggered wake ups.
That's right.
And then you'd go around the circle and do your 3, 2, 1s. That's when
I was still sleeping in the shower.
That's another story.
First night, yeah.
Yeah, me asking if you were ready and found you asleep in the shower in a bad way.
I told you to go away really politely.
He said,
not up for this.
You didn't say, can you please leave? Use some other language, but I was like, all right, mate, just try and check on you. You with half down there.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the reviews and what you remember from them, because that's where we took feedback to the next level. And feedback is in AFL land. How would you describe it? It's been something that we've lived.
You know what?
It's taken so seriously.
Yeah.
At Collingwood, it's quite different in the way we go about it, which is awesome. But
in an elite environment when it's all serious and
you've got one bloke out the front with 40 blokes giving him feedback.
Yeah, everything's pretty serious. You've got to be able to find the comedy in everything, I think, and like the entertainment in.
And also knowing how every individual responds.
Yeah.
However, we went old school in our reviews in Greece.
So we have footage, and I'll get it up at some stage, of blokes pulling other guys aside and literally going to opposite ends of the whole,
the
apartment that we're at. The house.
Yeah. Like taking the mickey, obviously, but like it was so funny. Like there's a video that you took. There's Will Day and Dylan Moore there. There's like CJ and Scrim in that corner. There's you and me probably giving each other feedback in this corner, and you're filming just being like, look what we've created here. Just genuine feedback circuit breakers.
And no one would get away with not getting feedback. That was the great thing. It was like you're always going to get someone coming up to you and
at some point in the night,
between the eyes,
being like, how do you reckon you're going tonight?
This is what I thought of your performance.
Do you reckon you brought your best value last night? Because I thought you were shit ass.
Yeah, well,
and here's why.
Well, and I gave you some feedback.
Did I get some on that trip?
Yeah, after night 1, I said, well, where were you? You were in the warm up. You were best on. It was like guys that go through the whole preseason. They're best on track, right? King of the track.
I won the time trial,
and then they do their hamstring before round 1. It's like, well, that was.
I did my ACL. Yeah, I was ruled out.
You came back pretty early, I reckon.
Yeah, actually,
if that's the context.
It was probably a Nathan Murphy. I did my syndesmosis, misdiagnosed, and came back and played the next night.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Scorpios was interesting because we were in a line for about 2 hours trying to talk to trying to get.
Well, they didn't let big groups of just guys in.
Yeah.
I think we said we were some soccer team from Australia, with the national soccer team.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, some blokes some blokes found a way in.
Well, how did they find a way in? They end up scuba diving in the end and coming up
Well,
the
they
beach.
pretty much went through the ocean. This is how keen they were to go. Won't name who they were.
I think they were using kelp as breathing
Yeah,
apparatus.
they did that. Yeah. They went to the beach in the water, popped up at the rocks and walked up a private entry at Scorpios.
Yeah.
But we weren't one of them. Well, you had a moon boot, didn't you?
Not quite. No,
Yeah.
no. I was out of it by then.
Okay.
Yeah. I had the brace.
So we just called them. Actually, did you go in?
No, I didn't.
I didn't go
end
either.
up-
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think we just went to Paradise Beach or something instead. Something around the corner.
Okay, so you've got this thing with your mates, right? So when we were talking about the reviews, and that's actually quite funny. You've got this thing between a couple of your mates called the Raleigh Medal, which is kind of like...
Yeah, a lot of my old schoolmates that I went to, a lot of them from primary school, young.
And you do a Brownlow equivalent night for,
Yeah,
the
for
funniest stories
about
of
a
the
dozen
year.
guys from when we were pretty young, back probably 18, 19. So
Yeah.
it's been going for about, it's coming up to its 10th year in a few years.
And that reminds me of Sydney days. So at Sydney, we had a big group of guys at the Swans, maybe between 10 and 15 guys. There was the 4 annual events. When you're a young bloke, you're in a new city with all the young guys, you sort of, you got to enjoy your downtime. So the 4 major events was pub golf. You'd play 9 holes of pub golf. So that would normally be one of the first events, maybe in March before the season. You'd have beer pong tournament, which was a dress up involved. You'd have wizards. You know how you just stack the cans up and you make a wizard stick? You'd have that. And then the last one was, I think it was called stumps, where you get these big stubbies and tape around your hands and you can't finish. You can't do anything until they're finished, and that's how you win. Anyway, and then you get your name on the blazer. And the other one was, best on footy trip. But you get your name on this blazer.
How did the crayfish go? Was he
Sam
involved?
Naismith, crayfish. I reckon he won 1 major.
Okay.
Dean Towers, there's a name for you. He was a four-time champ.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think he's still got the blazer today.
Dean.
Yeah, he's
Dean Towers.
yeah, Donny 22.
Where is Dean Towers right
He's
now?
in Sydney somewhere.
Let's locate him at
Yeah,
some
we'll
stage.
locate him. So Dino, it was his initiative, and he took that quite seriously. So he's got his name on the blazer 4 times, and I think that'll be.
So was it all just drinking games, or was it getting around the lads, or what was the criteria?
Yeah,
of actually getting the blazer?
It was. Yeah, no, it was probably was just that. But what was the criteria? I actually found some of the punishments quite funny. Like,
Right.
if you perform badly in one of the majors, there'd be punishments. So like if we next time we went out, you'd have to wear like jeans and runners for 24 hours straight. That was one of the punishments. Like even to go to bed, you have to wear jeans and runners. Some of the other ones were, I could tell you to do 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups if you were voted worst on at any point in time. So we could be at a cafe, middle of the cafe, and you just have to start pumping out sit-ups. So a few of the punishments are pretty
Sounded
good.
like me for the last 6 months. I started doing. I'll tell you about that.
Well, I was with you in America last year when you were doing that many push-ups.
Yeah. I started doing 100 push-ups the day I got delisted. There you go.
Have you done it every day
September
since?
the 1st. No, not for the last month. Yeah, I've sort of.
Well,
So that's, I couldn't do it for 12 months.
Well-
I did it for 6.
You saw elbows.
100 push-ups a day. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It was just a mind.
Do you remember like
Thing.
in America when that must have first started, and that was your, when we'd get ready and get changed, that was you. That was your pre-game.
That was me. Yeah. And you're like, have a look at this guy.
Get a pump on. You're like the blokes from Geordie Shore who, they pump, they get the biggest pump. They're doing curls before they go out. Then they put on their tight shirts. That
What
was
a
you.
show!
Yeah.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about Geordie
Who's
Shore.
your favorite? Who's your favorite?
You fucking Birdman.
You and your brother. Tell us about that. You do an unbelievable scene
No, so-
with him.
Guilty for loving trash TV. And
Yeah.
Geordie Shore was the first show that came on where I was like, this is
Treat the
such
trash, mate. Treat the
such
trash.
junk, but I love it. X on the Beach, you ever watch that?
Yeah, treat that trash as
So
well.
good. I feel like, what's the one these days that everyone watches? Love Island. I've never watched an episode of that.
Probably similar to.
Yeah, it's similar. But I feel like Geordie Shore was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just
My favourite was Jay. He looked like a thumb. Like he had like those really wide shoulders and just like that bald head.
His head didn't fit
One of
his
the
body.
greats. No,
His head was
He
tiny
like,
and
he was like the thumb from
must have
Spy
been on-
Kids. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Spy Kids. How good was that back in the day? 2002 to 2005.
He did look like the thumb.
Yeah. James tried too hard.
What a show. But what about some of the
Scotty T,
some of the
amazing.
operators on that show? Like they're literally just getting their life revolves around getting tans.
Oi. I've got one for you.
Getting pumped up before going out.
Yeah, before Geordie Shore. I don't know if it was before. Maybe it was. But I don't know if you remembered on MTV Next. I don't know if...
Nah, I never saw it.
It was like they would go into a caravan and be like a blind date. They'd just meet... A guy would meet a girl.
It was called something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was...
No, it was called Dating in the Dark.
I think it was Next or something. But the intro of that and the guys, it's one of the funniest things you'll ever see. Just
so the whole concept was you go into a room blinded with another person.
They'd ask each other one question or something, and then it's like, if they didn't like it, next. Like just... And then if they did like it, they go on one date, it'd be recorded. It'd just be like these, they were like college kids on spring break.
Yeah.
Like
What were some of your other favourite shows? What was the other one? Jersey Shore? Like growing up, what were your staples?
I was a big, I mean, in the different year levels, like I used to watch a bit of ABC, like your Arthurs, your Blue Water Highs,
Arthur. Can we touch on him? What a show.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Was he like the little bear?
Yeah, but then you're walking down the street.
Yeah.
No.
DW's was his sister?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Because I get that mixed up with Hey Arnold, the guy, the football head guy. You know, he's got the wide head and the little cap. Remember Hey Arnold?
Yeah.
Always got them confused.
Blue Water High, that was,
What about early days? Were you Cheese TV, Pokemon in the morning? Into Dragon Ball Z?
No, I was Hannah Montana and Wizards Away, and That's So Raven. Yeah. I think it was Channel 7.
Cartoon
Disney.
Network had a few pieces as well.
That was Hillary Duff era.
Yeah.
All those. There's a few operators.
Yeah. What about as you move through the generations?
Well, see, I didn't play a lot of like video games, like PlayStation, Xbox. I've never sort of been into that. But TV shows. Let's go. What else? There was one, Silver Sun, on ABC. Not sure if I've actually got a list.
I don't know what channels you're getting out in Templestowe, but do you remember a show called Romeo on Nickelodeon? The little basketball guy.
Romeo and Nickelodeon.
You remember that? Yeah.
No.
Great.
I don't
show.
think so.
A little bow wow.
Mate, I've got to. You won't believe it. I'm not going to get up now because it's going to take way too long. But I reckon I've got a list in my notes on my iPhone that I'm trying to go through right now that has a list of all the old TV shows that
I'd love to
I used to watch, that I remember watching, and there were some absolute.
I'd love the ability to go on your phone
crackers
and read some of the categories that you'd have in your notes sections.
Yeah, there's so much weird stuff. Like most of this stuff is also, I'd be sleeping on a plane, like a long flight, and then I'd wake up and I'd have some sort of epiphany and an idea, and I'm just bang out.
Anything you want to share? Because this is off the cuff. Anything completely random in there? I'll do the same. I'll have a look at my notes. I think mine will be quite conventional. Mine's mostly to-do lists.
I wrote when was it? Maybe it was the end of last year. I wrote a book about my whole time at Hawthorn.
You wrote a book on your time at Hawthorn?
From Collingwood to Hawthorn, and then
that's actually
that was pretty emotional. I actually was really emotional about it. Very. And I haven't really told that.
Well, yeah, that's the first time I've heard it.
Right? Yeah, but like going that whole time during, getting traded and then going across and then probably not making the most of the opportunity at Hawthorn, but like a number of different factors involved, and then coming out the other side, I just was like, I don't know how it came up, but I was just like on the plane. I had ages, and I just sort of started writing some notes around all right, why did this happen? Who was involved? And just, between just players,
reflecting
coaches,
and everything,
right? And then what was a thing where I just did some dot points, ended up becoming like a massive chapter in like a book.
So are you talking out of first person, as if you're talking from your point of view when you write it?
I try and a little bit, but I tried to sort of be a bit more objective as well. Okay. Sort of be like, all right,
looking from the outside.
Where did that sit in other people's minds potentially as well? There's so much.
Yeah.
That needs another episode. Some
Yeah,
stage.
wow.
But like that.
That's the first I've heard of it, because we touched on before in a joking way, but using comedy to lighten things down. I feel like especially with the transition from Collingwood to Hawthorn, like a lot of shit went down. And I feel like in terms of emotions as blokes, you probably dismiss things and have a laugh about it because you just don't want to delve into it. But like that must have been an example of something that would have been pretty deflating, traumatizing, all of that.
Yeah,
and then the progression of the couple of years after that. But I feel like you sort of, being a pretty funny guy, use the comedy to sort of just brush it away, and but that's good that you reflected on it
a lot. Yeah, I think that's certainly a mechanism that like I've used. It's part of my personality, like just trying to find entertainment and comedy and take the piss out of like things that if only if it makes sense and if it's relevant, right? If it's meant to be serious and it's not, like, and other people don't find it humorous or comical in another way, it's like, oh no, well that's not, it's not appropriate, right? But like if it's stuff with the piece and other stuff like that, right?
Something
it's like
else
everyone sort of is in on that. It's like, all right, that's funny, but like, yeah, I mean, you've got to, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and like it's good to cry. Like I mean, I've been really emotional over the last 3-4 years around it all.
Yeah.
But it's, you have to get to that stage and like get pretty deep within and let energy pass through your body, like, and then that's that being in motion, it creates laughter, it creates anger, frustration. You cry, but you got to do that because it gives you a greater perspective on like what
it takes time to process stuff that doesn't it?
It cuts away all the noise in your life and all the stuff that keeps everyone busy, supposedly, in what they're trying to go towards. It can realign and like almost reset what your intentions are in a lot of different ways. And like, I mean, everyone has different trauma, right? But that's that.
I was gonna say,
before then, right? I didn't have a lot. Like before 2018, like
life was good.
My
and easy.
life, it was really comfortable, right? And there hadn't been a heap of roadblocks. But anyway, like I'm wearing Collingwood Brody Grundy socks today. You know what I mean? Like it's just the ridiculously of this world is, and the things that happen within it is
some of the things you
can only have
over
a laugh
the years. I like your Texas Longhorns jersey. That's
great.
That sort of gets a good run.
And I saw
on certain occasions though, like
I saw Isaac on the weekend.
Isaac Pearson,
and I
chatted from the Longhorns.
I chatted to him about a similar thing, right, with what happened to him. Like he dropped a ball, dropped a pass, and that 7-8 seconds of his career pretty much was the downfall.
Yeah, so to further explain that, so college football, for everyone listening, we all know how huge that is in America, and the Texas Longhorns being one of the biggest football universities or colleges in the country. Isaac Pearson, he's a friend of ours. He was the punter. He got on the field for the first time, bright future. They fed the ball back to him as you catch it and kick it. I think that's what it's called. I don't know, from the snap. Fumbled it, and then that's your one chance. The coach rid him off, never played him again. Shipped him off to a different uni. And like, he can kick a ball, we've seen it.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's ruthless.
Man.
Yeah.
It's just like you laugh.
Can we talk about the socks again?
You just
I'm
laugh,
interested because Brody's a good mate of yours.
Yeah.
That situation's quite interesting as well. Like, I feel sorry for him. Obviously a great player, and like he should be playing AFL everywhere. Like, he's a quality footballer. I don't know. Like, have you spoken to him about that at all?
A little, not. You know what? Honestly, I haven't dived in deep with him about that experience yet. Like, I've chatted to him here and there, just pretty superficially, but like I haven't actually, sat down with him and chatted to him about all that, because it's, that's probably the scale of it. It's probably it's an even more intense situation than anything I've been involved in.
You can't compare that, but it's another example of adversity in which we all face, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's he's a terrific player, but even better person. Pretty deep thinker. But he's got obviously a really good holistic sort of outlook on the world too. So but it doesn't mean, he's very much into his footy, like SA boy.
Yeah.
Grew up, much involved in sport. Obviously, his footy and his basketball and that sort of stuff. And just hard. Like, he deals with it pretty well, I reckon. But you know what? Like, when I think about it, at the time, I dealt with it well. People were like, publicly, this guy seems like professional.
That was the perception. But on the inside, you were.
Yeah, but you're wanting to run through a wall and try and so he'd be feeling pretty similar, and it's you gotta it's upsetting, but you can't be too. You want to be attached. You want to be invested. You want to be invested because you're motivated. You want to aspire to be a better player, and you're like, what am I doing this for if I don't feel like that? But it's like the emotional connection with it, then can create a fair bit of stress and a fair bit of if I'm too invested in this,
and it means everything.
And everyone wants you to be invested in it.
And then how disappointing it'll be when things
they're
don't go
paying
away.
you. You're an employee of the club.
True.
You're a resource. You're meant to be in on this 110%. And the minute that you start looking elsewhere and seem to grow intensity in another interest in your life, that starts to become an issue. I've faced that wholeheartedly. That's probably part of why I'm not.
It's funny
involved.
That fine line between, boys, we want you to be doing something outside of footy. But if it's taken away too much from footy, it's like, hey, hang on, you know what I mean? And like you said, you're an employer.
Oh man,
employee.
Sorry, it's hard, and these are the conversations that not a lot of people have and don't, whether they want to hear it or not. But it's
that perception piece again to be
it can with decision makers and that sort of stuff. You're there to win premierships. You know what? Everything I've seen. I was thinking about this the other day, whether it was for the better or for the worse of me personally as a player, I know the clubs are in a better position. You know what? I can look back and go, it was an average situation for me personally in all of this stuff, but both Collingwood and Hawthorn are doing well in where they're going. And their lists and that sort of stuff. So you just, as much as it's
that's pretty
it's traumatizing, right? I can see that.
That's a pretty brave thing to say that.
Yeah.
Because you
take your ego, take all the attachment and the identity away from it of me as a footballer, or your own involvement in something that you thought had importance across other people's lives and your own life, which for a period of time, it does, and that's what you're doing. You're doing day to day in the eyes of yourself and others. But things happen. There's nothing that's constant. Things change. And I can see now, for the betterment of an organisation, a team sport that's got 40 odd blokes, you got another 50 to 100 employees in the company. I see the business decision around it. I see the commercial gain and the loss, and the media, and that's an interesting space in itself. But the way that they report things, makes it look like an average decision by the club at times, or by the institution or the organisation, and it's let's feel sorry for these players and that sort of stuff. But you know what? It's things happen. Things do happen for a reason. They happen for you. That they don't necessarily happen to you. And for me, that's how it was, right?
We're on a journey, as they say.
So that's
We're all on our journey.
Yeah.
Do you know what just came to me as well when we were talking about what sparked me to think of it? Seeing the comedy and things. I think that's what it was. We've both seen some pretty big sprays in our time, but I've never seen a spray given before a game's even started. Can we talk about that? Because that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I think it was in Tasmania, wasn't it?
I think it was at the G.
Maybe the G before Carlton, I reckon.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to spray.
It's like...
You got to spray before the game even started. How does that happen? The game hasn't started.
Oh, God.
Do you remember the wording?
Yeah. Hey?
It was funny. Like, you can look back and laugh. Like,
I can.
God.
Yeah, I can.
It was like... It was like Flip... It was like something...
Don't do what Flip did last week.
Whatever you do not do what Flip did. Flip. It was a pre-game clip.
Yeah.
How's your confidence going into that game?
Oh, man. This is just a thing, mate. Like it just you got to just be ready for anything. That's.
But this is the stuff I love, because we'll still look back at this in 10 years and just feel like that is so funny.
This is what you got.
There's so many examples of different stuff that's so funny like that.
Like I look at the way I look at things is like I don't try and judge. I do my best not to judge anyone, and even if stuff comes at you and like it looks unfavourable or it's
personal,
like like if it's like, all right, it comes to me.
I think understanding people as well, I guess in foot industry, so much pressure on everyone. Understanding pressure other people might be under when they act certain ways in certain situations. So almost putting yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
It's
just like, I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna do my best to not take it too personally, because like Clarko's got a lot of stress. Like this guy's handling a lot of stuff. He's had a very successful coaching career, playing career when he did. Like, he's a good bloke at the end of the day. He's a ripper. Like, these people are good. There are so many good people.
Yeah.
It's the environment.
He's my favourite. Yeah,
with a number. Yeah, it's the environment with everything that is encapsulated within it that can create different behaviour and action. And then it can affect some people. It can push others up. It can cut others down. Like that's competitive sport, and it is really ruthless, as much as it is trying to be inclusive and progressive in trying to care for people coming through that journey and that pathway. It's like, well, to an extent, it's always to an extent, and like there needs to be the line and the balance with, if that then affects like performance and win-loss and like the competition that it is, and trying to get the best out of trying to win a premiership, then like calls will be made. If you're not in the future plans, then you're not gonna be there, and you can't take it too personally. Like that's how I felt.
With the Collingwood situation, if you're comfortable talking about it,
how long do we have? I mean,
just give us a quick punchy version. So what happened? So the salary cap issues, you got a call and said, what was it? Was it, we want to keep you, we can't keep you, you have to go? Like, how brutal was it? Like, who was it with?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it punchy, but I just signed a 3-year contract sort of toward during that 2019 season. We were going into the finals, and I was with my manager and Ned Guy. Ned's a good guy at the end of the day. Like, he's a soft, warm sort of guy. Like, it's not his fault that the salary cap's in a bit of an issue for the club at the time, the end of 2019, and I'm not sure whose fault it sort of is, right? It's just a lot of players, you're trying to pay them money and trying to keep them together as a group. Like, that's the real art and the real balance. But for me, it was after that final series, had a good final series, and then after the Copeland best and fairest, and had 2 or 3 strong years, and felt, I was not ready for sort of what happened next. I was not
caught you off guard
mentally. Wasn't like, I was really comfortable. I was really set in, wanting to be there for the next few years and for the future. And then, I went overseas with my family for my grandpa's. It was his 80th birthday. He's a big golf fan. So there was about 10 of us that went across to California and played some golf. And then while I was over there was some stuff starting to circle. And then, my manager called me. Luckily enough, I had another really close family friend that had worked pretty closely with my manager at the time. And, he was over there with me on the trip. So we had to sort of deal with stuff over there, which, started off being a call between my manager and their guy. And then, Bucks was over in the US as well. So he wanted to potentially, fly and meet me and like chat to me. And, I was on the phone to him for a few days, 3 or 4 days, like sort of saying, I don't want to go, but, like for the betterment of the club, this is a situation we're in.
Like, ultimately, you could have put your foot down and said, I've got a contract, I'm staying.
And that's what I did going into COVID, into 2020. So 2019.
Oh, so they tried to do it before that as well?
2019, yeah.
Okay.
And James Aish ended up being the one that was, that left. And obviously he's playing some good footy at Freo.
Yeah. But then, so if we go to end of 2020, you could have done the same thing.
I could have, yeah. And I would have stayed another year until the end of
21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like going back that pre-season 2020, like that was before COVID, right? I already had a sort of chip on my shoulder. I was like, geez, like it's a weird feeling going back, sort of having that happen over
tension of not being wanted or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
over the off season and sort of like, your mindset's sort of you're sort of spinning in your own head. You're a little bit lost. Like even of recent times, like I'm still a bit lost. Like I'm still, like I still get emotional around a lot of things in my life, but also understand the role of emotion too, and like where it's relevant and where it's actually, it doesn't help in some things, and where it is really powerful. But like, for me, that whole 2020 period was really tough. Like, that had happened in the previous off season, then going in, playing a round or two, and then COVID hit, 2 months off, going back up to Queensland. Obviously weren't with family for a period of time, and you would have felt that too. And then, had a very close, my grandmother, which I was really close with, she passed away, had a stroke and was in hospital and passed away in start of September in 2020. And 3 days later we played against Brisbane, and I did my hamstring in the last quarter, and I didn't do much training throughout that week, and I was like in a really average place.
Well, they do say that when your stress levels are high, you're more prone to injury. Like the percentage goes through the roof.
That's the only time I've done a soft tissue. During that time, and I was, that's the lowest I've sort of been, I reckon, with my mentality during that point. And then at the end, I knew the whole year in 2020 that
the same chat was coming.
I knew it was coming the whole year, and I was just like, you know what, whatever happens, I'm just going to give, I'm going to give 110%. And you know what, like, even the guys that are making the decisions, whether it was, the coach, list manager, whatever, like, I can, you look back now and you go, they're all really decent people in their own right. Like, they're all good people. They're not doing it because they're not doing anything or making any decision, I don't think, in my belief, because they disliked the way that I went about my footy, or the way that my attitude towards the program, or that sort of thing. And if it was that, then I would have more of myself to sort of blame. And I think like part of that whole transition to Hawthorn, and what I sort of wrote, as I mentioned on the plane, like a massive, I wrote a book about it. But like that, my way to sort of, I guess, cope, and that throughout that whole period of time, I was still probably carrying a lot of, deep sort of
trauma,
rooted, trauma through that.
Was there one conversation that stood out with, say, Bucks or someone where you're like, that hit you a bit?
I think after I'd played really strong footy throughout 17, 18, 19, and then sort of, I guess, some of the ways that, and look, it's not when I look at it, it's just, ways to try and make moves and get decisions done and get stuff done and get players to be on the move. But like some of the stuff that started to become a bit more sort of personal around, look, we don't think you're going to be, good enough for in the starting sort of 22 sort of next year, off the back of sort of the seasons I'd had, and like, trying to reshape the way that you almost feel about yourself and your own footy was a bit that was
that's probably pressure of the salary cap stuff. That's actually the way of doing that to make you seek other opportunities.
And it's like, I understand. I understand. Like that's through conversation, right? You're trying to leverage information. You're trying to and that's the stuff that was probably more uncomfortable. Like I understand the salary cap stuff and the financial stuff, but when it is sort of a bit more personal like that, it's just like you want to be able to sit down face to face with someone and like be able to get that. Like that's a far easier conversation being in the same room. When it's on the phone and people can sort of sit behind the keyboard a bit or the phone, it's I don't agree a heap with that, but as I said, like these people are good. Like they're good people. They just got to make
doing their
decisions
jobs as well.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Jobs,
Like they've just got to do what they do. But that was interesting period. And then like but if that didn't happen right, like there's a whole other like myriad of things that I don't think I would be involved in. I wouldn't have learnt if that stuff didn't happen.
Everything reshapes something in a new direction, doesn't it? Like
reincarnates like in a different way. Like
everyone's experienced it in their life.
What about you, mate? Like you've had a really resilient sort of season through your own body, your own mind, like playing some really good footy, like getting a bit of outside noise, like in different ways, and like how you sort of
I think I'm
coping
pretty
through the last few weeks. And
I think with maturity, it's like you actually do learn to block out the noise, and I guess it's there in your face. Like the start of the year, my first 15 or so games were pretty strong, and it was I've fixed the midfield and blah blah blah, and then you have a quiet game or two, or you play a bit less game time, and it's like, oh, you win the team. It's just like you can't get caught up in the week to week, because then you play a good game, we get say on the weekend, it's like, oh, it's just it's a bit of a circus, It's just whatever's topical that week, that'll just get around.
You're there to sell papers and
yeah,
views,
and it's like what you said, when you again put yourself in their shoes, they're doing their job. Yeah. They're trying to get as many clicks or whatever as possible.
Yeah, and you're not, and you don't. You're still in the environment, and there's restriction across everything. But like I think there's got to be continuous ways that the media and journalism continues to evolve in a better way, and storytelling happens more powerfully and more authentically around what. Yeah, obviously there's so much reactive stuff. Like that's what it's what the powers to be sort of build the structure and the consumption of material and content like that. That is unfortunately that's really embedded into the way that a lot of people.
Yeah, the one I find interesting is everyone's want for athletes and people, I guess, in the spotlight to, be yourself, show your personality, do all this. And then the second you do, it's sort of, it's either it's written about it or it's ridiculed or there's, it's like, well, why would you be yourself?
Yeah.
In that environment, no one wants to do that. And then there's this tension between player and media because there's no trust.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk.
Yeah, I've been in I've probably been in conflict with myself for a long time around that, around like being in an environment where, it is, like you want to be yourself, but it's the understanding and the context of if people really embrace you and understand the context behind, all right, your character and your fight and your attitude towards performance, that doesn't change. But bits and pieces throughout the week and like the way that you operate around, the playing squad or different people like that, you're allowed to be yourself and be a bit more.
Yeah, I'm not like the environment.
That's my personality. I'm not. I try to not be too serious or too like, and that can land you. That can land
as a perception of not caring
in trouble at different times.
That's what Fly's been so good at Collingwood. Like every business, every workplace says be yourself. We want but he really lives it, and he's created this environment where it's unbelievable. Like the first you guys get up in front of the group and speak, I've never seen that before. Like big in front of big groups, everyone's comfortable being themselves. Like I've never seen anything like it, and what he's created is just unbelievable. And first time. Like, we've always been very lucky to do what we do, but like I actually get excited to go to the footy club every day. I'm excited. I'm like, how good's this? Like having happy staff, happy players going to work is, it has to have some weight in it because there's majority of the people that go to Collingwood every day are feeling that at the moment. And it's real. It's not just words that you say. It's actually happening. Yeah, which is really cool. So.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad that's how you feel. Like, because I'm sure you've had times where it hasn't been like that, and I've certainly had times 100%. Like where, it's
the last place you want to be.
Like that, 100%. Right? Yeah,
and then that's where you have the ability to close off outside noise because you're like, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm working hard. I know that I'm just working with these people in this room, getting the respect of these people. I don't really, the rest doesn't bother me. Like, I guess in terms of my individual career, like I've, had ups and downs, like, the broken leg, that's impacted me a lot. And that's just sort of, you're fixed, you're fine. But that was a horrific injury. There's just like little things along the way, and like even achieving, a lot of individual accolades, like, but I don't care about that now. It's like I want to be part of team success, and if I'm sacrificing and being more selfless on game day, and maybe I'm not having as much individual output, to the outside that seen as what's this? But it's like I don't care. Like I'm here to help us try and win a premiership. Yeah, and I'm happy to sacrifice and do my part to help the younger guys come through, to be good teammate, supportive, like make it about others. Like that's just what it is internally. And when you've got that internal drive and gratification to know that that's what you're doing, then the outside is more dismissed easily. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that's right. Like you don't have to listen to everything and everyone, but like everyone, there is some, there's always importance in everyone's voice, no matter where you come from, what your background is, what your upbringing is. Like everyone has a voice. That's the democratization of social media and the digital age and this whole space. But with it, it's like how do you keep building a powerful humanity, going in the right direction and continuing to better yourself and empower others to like just be better humans in what they do. Like I know I'm going through a career transition and as you're talking about, like wanting to get up and really enjoy and embrace and thrive in an environment. Like I think I'm doing that in different ways now, but it's like how do
do we continue to create a better culture in Australia as well? And, this thing of not cutting down
Yeah, we've spoken about that.
For the sake of
Maybe
your own feeling and your own feeding your own sort of insecurity.
The tall poppy syndrome. That's a good one to cover off on next time, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Especially Australian sport compared to American sport.
It's
definitely worth exploring.
Yeah.
We got pretty deep today.
Yeah.
Wow, what piece is that?
We have. Well,
that deep dive connection piece.
I think it's that piece around reading a newspaper. A Hungarian reading.
Maybe we should finish on a more lighthearted point.
Maybe
because we've gone down a rabbit hole. I didn't think we were going to go down that rabbit hole, but thanks for sharing all that.
We got to go in and out of this stuff. It's important because it's not just about trying to be entertaining. Or
it's about being real as well, which I think hopefully everyone appreciates that. Flip's shared some pretty deep stuff, and I'll continue to do more of that as well because I think it helps everyone with their daily troubles and lives. I want to create a segment for what we do here.
It is what it is, guys.
It is what it is, guys. We were doing top threes. Yeah. With Dyson, just like top threes, and we were talking about TV shows before. So just to finish, 3, 2, 1, 3 being the best. Favorite TV show of all time from sort of your childhood and to now. If you want, I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
I'm probably missing some because I've just made this up on the spot. I'm going to put Geordie Shore in there.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in.
In its prime, I was churning hours of Geordie Shore.
I'm going to put it in.
A lot of thumb time.
Yeah.
Jay.
Yeah.
I'm putting that in there. I'm putting... when I was a kid, my brother and sister loved SpongeBob, so I feel like that was always on in the background. So it's probably features in terms of time watched, minutes watched. SpongeBob would have...
Minutes watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, Geordie Shore is definitely
X on the beach as well. I'll throw the two trashy ones in there.
Nah,
it's not real. Maybe I'll come back to you next time, but
Geordie Shore was number one. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't watched a heap of TV after that, after primary school. I reckon. Yeah. Arthur was,
okay, we'll put Arthur as one. Let's end on Arthur. That's a good way to finish up. Good to chat, mate. Great pace. Great pace, mate.
It's a really good wings program, isn't it?
We'll get to the wings program next time.
Yeah.